Welcome back to Black Belt Secrets. This has been a while, but this video is really for anyone that needs to hear it. And you'll know if you need to hear it because hopefully it will resonate with you. The key message in this video is from me to you: never let anybody else tell you that you can't do something. Because this is sort of the story of my life. For my whole life, people had been telling me, you can't do this and you're not allowed to do that. But I always found a way of doing it. And when people would tell me not to do something or that I shouldn't do something, I would find a way of doing it. As my own personal challenge, if nothing else. And I've got a number of different examples of that. One of which, right back to when I was in infants or juniors, so very young and very small. We were given a list of different activities to choose from to do for the next few weeks or so. One of them was needlecraft. Now I thought this sounded really cool, because obviously needles, little sharp things, I thought that sounded very cool. Obviously it turned out to be sewing and sewing pockets together and things like that. Nonetheless, I'd chosen to do this, and the teacher said to me, given the era that I grew up in, the teacher said, no, this is for girls, this isn't for boys. But again, given the nature of this video, because I was being told that I'm not supposed to do something, I decided even more firmly that that's what I was going to do. So I said, no, I'm sure this is what I want to do. And in fact, that skill that I learned in those next few weeks of sewing things together has come in so handy over the years, I cannot tell you. Just the ability to be able to sew something together, sew up a hole or whatever it might be, has been so useful just because of that one little decision. The next came about because I was obviously a pianist and I was a keyboardist as well, but I was a keyboardist first. So I started by playing the keyboard and learning chords in the left hand as a normal keyboardist would, not the organ, just the keyboard. And then it got to a certain point where my keyboard teacher said we should pick up piano pieces, because I was already doing grades and exams by that time on the keyboard. He said we should incorporate some piano pieces because when I get to the top level keyboard exams, they are somewhat equivalent to piano exams, so I really need to incorporate these piano pieces early. However, by this point I was just starting senior school, and the head of music at the senior school told me you have to choose between one or the other. You have to choose the keyboard or you have to choose piano. Now looking back, irrespective of how irrational that forcing of a decision was, I can't see any justification for forcing someone to choose between keyboard or piano other than to focus the mind and focus the practice. But nonetheless, I think there are skills to be learned from both, and indeed at that time I decided no one is going to tell me that I can't do both and that I had to choose. So obviously I did both, and I still play both to this day. I have a digital piano in the form of a Yamaha Clavinova, and we have a grand piano, which is a Kawai. And I love to play both because they are very distinctly different types of instruments. But the point was, someone was telling me that I had to choose and that I couldn't do what I wanted to do. And I chose against that. I rallied against that. When someone told me I couldn't do it or shouldn't do it, I absolutely had to do what I wanted to do. Another example comes when I was in a meeting with my careers advisor, in inverted commas. They said I must pick a career. I said I don't want a career, I want to start a business. They said no, you must start a career. And I reiterated I plan to start my own business. They said no, it will be too difficult, too expensive, too competitive, and you won't make it. But I said, well, I want to start a business. And they said, you must pick a career, at least to begin with, and that's our job. Our job is to help you to pick a career. I said, well, okay, something in law, because law interested me. So I'd like to be a barrister. And she said, no, be serious. She said, that's too difficult, too expensive, too competitive, and you'll never make it. And I said, well, you told me to pick a career. I'd like to be a barrister. She said, well, just go and find some work experience then. So I went off into Birmingham and I did a mini pupillage. A mini pupillage is sort of a 2-week version of a 12-month pupillage, which is training before you go on to be a barrister after you've done your qualifications. And I did this mini pupillage in and out of the Crown Courts for 2 weeks. and I loved it. But then even then, when I went back to the careers advisor, they said, no, you have to choose something more realistic. It's too difficult, too competitive, too expensive, and you'll never make it. So actually, I didn't go into law to begin with. I went off to university and started my own business, but I came back to law later. So in fact, all these years later, my businesses are successful and I am a barrister. So on both counts, I proved that careers advisor wrong. But at the time, being told at that age, I was about 16, I think, being told that you can't do something, both business and be a barrister, could be very difficult for many people to hear. So I am here to tell you, I am the proof that you can do what you want to do. So whenever anybody tells you you can't do these things, I'm telling you that you can. And so whatever it might be that you want to do, however difficult that might be, you can make it happen if you see it in your mind and you put all of your efforts and you focus your attention on making this happen. But the real key is that you believe it will happen. It has to start with a belief, a real passion, and a desire to make it work. So as I say, this is just my message to you for those that need to hear it. You can make these things happen. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't do something. So let me know in the comments. I'd be very interested to read and to respond to any experiences and examples like this, whether you are young or older, where people have told you that you can't do something. And I'd like to respond to those because I'm here to tell you that you can. In the meantime, please hit the like button and subscribe, and thank you for watching.